Before this video begins, I'd like to give a huge thanks to my channel members, who you can see on screen now. Become a member by hitting the join button and get your name here among other awards today. Hello there and welcome back to Forza Top Gear Labs Rivals, the spin-off where we pit a couple of cars with common ground and close PIs against each other to see which one can come out on top. Today we take a look at two sports cars from over 70 years ago. Firstly, we have the Porsche 356, the first ever production Porsche. Designed to be a smaller car with ample power, it took inspiration from Ferdinand Porsche's own supercharged Volkswagen Beetle Cabriolet. The 356 shared a lot of Beetle parts, and the overall architecture was very similar. However, over time the 356 would evolve to become more and more its own unique model. The 356 would first launch in 1948 and was mostly ignored outside of a few native racing enthusiasts, who were attracted to the aerodynamic design and the build quality. By the 1950s, those traits had helped secure more fans, and a winning class at the 1951 Le Mans race would further help the car secure a huge following in both professional and amateur racing. In 1955, Porsche would launch a facelift in the form of the 356A, which sported many changes and improvements. This particular car is a 356A Speedster, a body style designed to cater to amateur racers. With its Spartan interior and lower windscreen, this would become one of the most desirable 356 models around. This version also features the most popular engine choice, with a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder pushrod boxer engine. Although largely borrowed from the Beetle, it featured several improvements, to almost double the horsepower of the Beetle's original version. The quad-cam Carrera engine would later become an extra cost option. The 356 would continue to 1965, where it would eventually be replaced by the Porsche 912, a smaller 4-cylinder version of the infamous Porsche 911. Its counterpart for today is the MGA. While the 356 used parts and ideas from the Volkswagen Beetle, a design originating in the 1930s, the MGA was designed to be the future, with its streamlined body and the undercarriage from the recently released MG Magneti. It would replace the outdated MGT. While the standard car is the most common version, the high-performance twin-cam model is the one we are focusing on today. Being introduced in 1958, it featured a dual overhead cam aluminium-headed version of the B-series engine of the standard MGA. Dual overhead cams and an aluminium head in 1958 were a true rarity, often being reserved for the highest tier of sports cars, and were even a somewhat rarity as recent as the 2000s. And it wasn't just the engine. The twin cam would make use of all-around disc brakes, another rarity in the modern age, especially on economy cars. However, in typical British fashion, the MGA twin cam gained a reputation for oil burning and detonation. Although MG would produce a version with lower compression to try and counter the issues, the damage had already been done, and only just over 2,000 twin-cam MGAs were ever produced. The MGA in general would suffer weak sales in its home market, being one of the weakest selling British cars of the time, although export markets were very strong, with over 100,000 being produced until 1962, where it saw replacement by the MGB. So, two 50s sports cars, one designed to be the best of the time period it was manufactured in, and the other designed to be a super advanced sports car of the future. But which was the better approach? Let's find out on the track. So, onto the track, and we begin with the 1957 Porsche 356A Speedster. 60 horsepower, 81 foot-pound of torque, 1,676 pounds of weight. This is the least powerful by a decent margin, the least torquey, and also the lightest car here today. It is the underdog in essence, and also it's incredibly funny to watch this car go around the track. There is an awful lot of body lean in the 356A. I've got to say, going into this, I'm not a huge fan of the 356A Speedster. I can appreciate why some people like it, but it's just not really for me. It's a little bit too Beetle. I'm not really a fan of the Volkswagen Beetle to begin with. However, I will say, the 356A around this track is great fun, just because of how much it has body roll, but it still surprisingly sticks through the corners. There is a little tinge of understeer, which is kind of weird in a car that only has 60 horsepower, I'll admit it, but that is there. Other than that, the acceleration is surprising, being a rear-engined, rear-drive car, you do get that initial launch, which is always quite nice, and also very surprising from, again, a car with literally just 60 horsepower. But yeah, overall, the way I'd describe it is just, it's a fun car to drive. Not quite as fun as some of the other cars I've driven around here, not even the most fun I've had in a low-powered car. It's probably still the Subaru 360. But the 356A Speedster really is a little blast to take around the track. So if you want to drive something for a little bit of fun, maybe this might be worth a look in, because yeah, you can certainly get some decent low-powered fun out of the 356A. Next up then, we have the 1958 MGA twin cam, 108 horsepower, 104 foot-pound torque, 2,192 pounds of weight. Straight away you could see the power advantage that the MGA does have. In fact, it has almost double the power of the Porsche 356. Maybe the Porsche's lightweight will help it come out on top, but that does remain to be seen. Yeah, the MGA, when you're driving it, as soon as you instantly get into it, and you can even tell it on this replay here, you can tell this is definitely the more advanced of the two cars. Of course, you have that twin cam engine, which produces a lot more power. It is a lot more rev happy as well. This revs out to 7.5, I think, somewhere around there. It is pretty insane how far this car actually revs, considering how old it is. And you can just sort of tell on the replay as well, it doesn't lean nearly as much. That was one thing that I definitely came away from this car with. It is surprisingly rigid. It really is quite a solid platform, considering open-top sports car from the 50s. The actual overall top speed is not particularly fast, although that is to be expected. Overall, the car actually drives like it is a lot newer than it is. It actually drives like something more from, say, the 1980s, maybe even the very early 90s, than it does like a 1958 car, which is what it is. It is genuinely quite remarkable in that regard. I wouldn't call it an excellent car to drive or anything of the sort. It's sort of relatively average in terms of its overall handling and all that, but considering it's from 1958, that's what makes it actually exceptional. And going onto the leaderboards is not too much of a surprise. The MGA twin cam did win out this fight, going to 369th place with a 141.283, slightly slower than a Fiat 124 Sport Spider, a car from the 80s, but it's quicker than a Corvette from the equivalent time period, a Fiat 8V Supersonic, which is a race car. Really rather well done. In 379th place we'll find the Porsche 356A Speedster with a 143.615, going just slower than a Honda S800, which is interesting, slightly quicker than a Mini Cooper Myers-Manx, which is another Volkswagen Beetle based vehicle. Yeah, I can't say it was too surprising to see the MGA beat the 356. Granted, it was only by 2.5 seconds, but yeah, the MGA is probably the car I would side more with in terms of a car I'd actually drive. Although the 356 is quite a lot of fun, that's the one I'd recommend that you give a go. But in terms of between these two cars, it really is not a toss-up. The MGA is clearly the superior car. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of Forza Top Gear Labs Rivals. Join us shortly for the next full episode, which is going to focus on hypercars, and there is a potential chance that the next Rivals episode will also focus around a couple of different hypercars, which are tied together with one very interesting engineering quirk. So thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a farewell.